Everyone on my feed is talking about Ariana Grande, and I'm seeing a lot of different conversations about her body and society. I'm also seeing a lot of really confronting images where Ariana is seemingly body checking or showing off parts of her body that I think we can all agree look quite emaciated. I just want to give a forward warning that this is a very sensitive topic and subject. Obviously, trigger warning for disorders. We will be talking about the condition and discussing some details about it here and there. There may be some confronting images included in this video, so please, if you are concerned about being triggered by that, have any suspicion that that could be detrimental to you and your mental health, then by all means do not watch this video. Another thing I want to mention is that I know a lot of people have been on the Ariana hate train, farming content about her because it seems to do pretty well. She is a very famous person, and a lot of people are here for the tea and the scathing videos. Personally, I hope this video doesn't come off that way. Really, what motivated me to make this is the interesting conversation about whether we even talk about this stuff or not, and how we even go about doing so. One thing I will say right off the bat, commenting and saying that she used to be really beautiful or that she isn't now is indeed body shaming, and I think not productive to the conversation at all. In my video today, I want to primarily have a meta conversation about the discussion online. I don't really want to litigate whether there is a problem with Ariana or not. I think we can all in good faith agree that there is something wrong. We just don't have confirmation on what exactly is the issue. I have my idea of what it is. I think we all have an idea. I think a lot of us probably agree on it, but there is no conclusive confirmation. I'm not here to diagnose Ariana. I can't. There is no record or evidence proving that she has an ED or a condition, sickness, illness, what have you. What I will say is that there will be circumstantial evidence. At the end of the day, it is up to you to decide what you think. Form your own opinion. I'm just presenting you mine. I'm seeing a lot of different arguments for why we both should and shouldn't be talking about what's going on with Ariana right now. Personally, I'm not making a video saying whether she's ugly or not. This is about wellness, not about fitting into a societal beauty standard. And we can talk about beauty standards later, but I want you to know my intentions for this video and where I stand on that. As for my bias, personally, I didn't grow up watching Nickelodeon. I'm not an Ariana fan. I like some of her music. I think she has a great voice. I think she was kind of funny on SNL from what I saw. But that's about all I know of her. There are some things years ago that did sour my impression of her. Things that I heard maybe in my periphery and went, oh damn, she did that? That's awful of her. I don't like that. And maybe I don't like her. But it was never a serious or huge thing that I cared enough to really look into. It's about the donut incident and the stuff with Ethan Slater. To be fair, the Ethan Slater stuff was really hard to avoid, but I'm just putting it out there that you know where my bias stands and that I'm not a fan of hers, nor do I have a vendetta against her, because I really do empathize with her journey as a human being. She has been very famous since a young age, and as we kind of know, when people get catapulted into fame, sometimes they can mentally stay at that age, have like arrested development, and not only that, but the abuse on certain sets that she worked on has been well documented, and we don't know any details if she went through anything personally. It's all speculation as far as I know, but I think in my opinion it's pretty clear something's gone on. Fame is a really addicting thing psychologically, on top of getting near constant validation from your fans, people close to you, and a lack of normal challenges that would promote growth within a person. It's easy to see why a famous person might not grow the way a normal person would. On top of that, the bombing incident that occurred at one of her concerts, I believe, I think is more than enough trauma for a person to have for a lifetime, in their lifetime. I can't imagine the paranoia of being famous and feeling like there's a target on your back, or the fact that someone would actually go to the trouble of arming explosives in your location and detonating them. That is horrific. So I definitely am not trying to approach this video to be harmful, but to discuss why we have so much turmoil about this subject and of Ariana and what is the right thing to do here. And remember, gang, we can't have discourse and nuance if we just shut down people's opinions without hearing them through. So as always, watch till the end and don't let your intrusive thoughts win. Thank you. And like and subscribe if you want, I guess. Leave a comment. Let me know if I'm an idiot. I don't have to tell you that. I know some of y'all don't need me to tell you that. Criticizing bodies. In a world where we have the body positivity movement, slogans like all sizes are beautiful, we unfortunately get people who don't have a nuanced view separating ideals of beauty and health. What does it mean to criticize a person's body? And we might all have different viewpoints on what that actually looks like. I believe a lot of the discourse surrounding Ariana and E.D conversations actually stems from a generational divide. I think kids who are younger than me don't actually remember the tabloids from the Y2K era and tend to be more callous in their online comments. A generation of people who've grown up very ironic in humor, not really with much empathy. There's a lot of struggles there. People who are older than me probably remember the tabloids all too well, with the low-rise jeans and the coke chic look. So we have groups of people who believe we shouldn't comment on people's bodies at all, and another group that sees the past being revived and desperately wants to protect the newer generations from the mistakes of the past. There is no one who is inherently wrong or evil for having either of these feelings or thoughts about it. They all stem from a good place, I think. But in my opinion, I do think it's important to educate and talk about the effects of an ED in some detail, but perhaps dogpiling a single person about it is not the right way to go about this problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I don't think that that's a hot take. I think it's a good thing to fight against the normalization of such a thing, but how we do it is important too. A lot of people see it as though because it's not confirmed that she has an ED, we shouldn't be treating her like she has one just simply based on how her body looks. This is why people bring up Chadwick Boseman a lot. His passing, I think, had a really lasting effect on the way people view talking about celebrities and their appearance online, and just the general idea that you don't really know what someone's going through. While we don't have direct evidence of Ariana admitting to having an ED, there is a fair amount of circumstantial evidence that leads to people believing that's the cause of her current image. If you don't know, circumstantial evidence really just means we have a lot of indirect proof that relies on a logical step inferring knowledge to connect a fact to a conclusion. AKA, it's an allegation, not a proven thing. None of us are qualified to say what Ariana and her condition is in terms of a diagnosis. A lot of people are coming to a conclusion it's anorexia nervosa, based on Ariana's old rumored Tumblr account, which allegedly had ED content on it, but I haven't seen that myself. I can't really confirm. I think I saw like one thing that I was like, okay, that's a bit crazy. I don't even know if the Tumblr is still up to this day. And I want to remind you, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, probably, and Ariana's health is her private information. Unfortunately, like something such as a drug addiction, I feel as though an ED is something that is quite physically presenting. It's not really something that you can ignore or not notice. In 2023, Ariana came out with a TikTok talking about how difficult it is to be a public-facing person with a body and being perceived and looked at very closely.
I just wanted to address your concerns about my body and talk a little bit about what it means to be a person with a body and to be seen and to be paid such close attention to.
Which is fair and true to say, I think. I recently saw a picture of a famous woman where people zoomed in on her toes and pointed out that she had hair on her toes. Who cares? Like, who actually cares about that? How exhausting, though, to be a woman. But there's definitely something to be said about the pressures that someone like Ariana and all of Hollywood famous women are put under. And the public most definitely contributes to that pressure and scrutiny. What I didn't like about this video is that Ariana is getting on her soapbox saying that we should move towards less conversation about other people's bodies, whether we say someone is sexy or not sexy or big or small. We should have no conversations about bodies whatsoever. And on top of that, if you see something you don't like, you should just ignore it or find a way to not be shown that.
There are ways to compliment someone or to ignore something that you see that you don't like, that I think we should help each other work towards.
I've seen a lot of people say with the recent release of Ariana's album Petal, they tried to remove any way of seeing Ariana and potentially being triggered, might I add. And you can't even comment or like things on TikTok without having a graphic of her face show up. It's so funny to me that a celebrity is like, if you don't like the way I look, just don't look at screens. How can you avoid one of the biggest female pop stars of the century? How, Ariana? I also really despise this view that if people simply don't like it, they should just ignore it. If I see a TikToker who is clearly an alcoholic and displaying that behavior wantonly, I'm not going to simply just ignore it. Probably going to talk about it. If I see a man saying that antidepressants aren't good and just go to the gym, I'm simply not going to just ignore that. I'm not going to just ignore that. I'm going to call that out and kick up a fuss about it. However, on the point of people being overly judgmental, I do agree that we could certainly stand to be better as a humanity by not verbalizing every single negative thing that we think about in regards to other people. I think to a degree it's normal that you might even have negative thoughts pop into your head, but far too many people think it's worth saying. I think you can have those thoughts. I think it's quite normal, human, but you don't have to say everything that goes through your head. Also, feel free to challenge those thoughts and yourself and where those come from, because you might actually grow as a person. It feels like in this video, the onus is being put on Ariana's fandom and general people online, but there are countless famous YouTubers and celebs who have come out and said that their life was in shambles, absolute ruins, because they would read the comments, and it destroys your mental health. Then, when they realized that they didn't actually have to read those comments, it actually saved their mental health. Actually really helped them. Ariana, on the other hand, kind of seems like a really online celebrity. I don't know how many lengths she goes to avoid reading stuff about herself, but she is just that famous. It probably is quite a bit difficult to do so, even for her. I feel like she tells us that it's so easy that if we don't like her, well, it's easy to add a conversational person to a block list. So she should be able to do that and ignore anything that pops up about her, right? I'm not saying it's okay that some people are being really mean to her. It's horrible. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to be better as a society, but there are variables that you can control. And unfortunately, you cannot control a whole society of people to do better. And I really do think that control is maybe a very big theme here. I think if you see someone like Eugenia Cooney, for instance, someone with a very obvious and basically confirmed ED thanks to Shane Dawson's documentary, I think it's important to talk about the condition. On the topic of responsibility though, someone as famous as Eugenia being essentially a brand ambassador for an image that is unhealthy and has the highest mortality rate of any psychiatric disorder, that is a responsibility that can and will affect millions of girls and boys too. And I personally do not take that lightly. Ariana says that you can be healthy and beautiful at any size, but I kind of have to disagree on that.
There are many different kinds of beautiful. There are many different ways to look healthy and beautiful.
The healthy part, that is. I can't emphasize how little I care about the beauty aspect here. In fact, the mentioning of beauty here at all really just feels like Ariana obfuscating what the conversation's really about. It's either missing the point or there's too many damn people who keep bringing up beauty and looks in the same conversation. We don't need it, guys. I think that's another key thing here, is that by roping together the haters and the people concerned for her in one bundle, you can somewhat successfully diffuse the real conversation being made and cloud it in uncertainty. People looking from the outside might think that Ariana is being unnecessarily bullied, or as her management calls it, scrutiny. People think that the conversation around Ariana is really about whether she's good looking enough instead of the real concern, which I guess is health. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely scrutiny being made by commenters. Ariana has made a lot of haters, especially with her actions lately, so I think a lot of people do feel justified being mean and cruel to Ariana, and then concern trolling, pretending to care about her health, but in the same sentence saying extremely damaging things, all because these people don't like who she is and see her as evil and vile. And to put it concisely, I don't think that attitude and behavior is helping anyone. And if that opinion pisses off a lot of viewers, I don't really care about being liked. This is about what's the right thing to do, and I'm not here to regurgitate talking points that I read on Reddit snarks for clout. Okay? The past versus the present. This is where the conversation for this video gets, unfortunately, really dicey, or it feels that way. I feel like a total and utter creep for having made this part of the video, but seeing as I don't watch Ariana's stuff or pay attention to her much, I had to look at her past and compare the way she looks now to how she used to, almost a decade ago, mind you. A lot of people kept saying that she's fine and normal and nothing has changed, and even saying that she's better and healthier than ever, which she herself said, so not sure what that's about.
I know personally for me, the body that you've been comparing my current body to was the unhealthiest version of my body. I was on a lot of antidepressants and drinking on them and eating poorly, and at the lowest points of my life when I looked the way you consider my healthy, but that in fact wasn't my healthy. Healthy can look different. The second thing is you never know what someone is going through. So even if you are coming from a loving place and a caring place, that person probably is working on it or has a support system that they are working on it with, and you never know. So be gentle.
I'm not sure if I agree with anyone here. Like I said at the start, we can all see something is going on. We just don't know exactly what. I saw a comment somewhere that stated she actually has always had a really pronounced sternum, and the fact that people point it out now is just due to bad lighting or unfortunate camera angles. And I did some digging and I think that is somewhat true, but I don't think that's a good thing either. By the way, this is not an invitation for discourse on her looks, if she's pretty or not, or if she is scary looking or disturbing. Please practice what I said earlier and keep those comments to yourself. While I can see what people mean about the sternum and the pronunciation of it, or it being pronounced, we also do have to remember that if Ariana has an ED, it most likely didn't just start a few years ago, but probably a long, long time ago. So, judging from the pictures of the past, it's very possible she was also in the throes of an ED even back then. Like I said before, I do think I think her sternum has always been defined. As people have been saying, it seems like she has had a low body fat percentage for quite some time, but I have a hard time believing that's a natural thing. Watching tour footage from a month ago, things look worse than they used to. And no, I don't think it's down to lighting and angles. This is a compilation of 4 different times Ariana has sung Break Free on stage. Granted, it's not like a foolproof way to be like, hey, look at the way her energy has changed, but I just thought it'd be interesting to compare all these different videos, and I think there's definitely a difference here, so I don't know. You also don't get to hear the music, so that sucks, but I did my best to make it beat by beat the same, like the beat drops at the same time, so you can probably see there's some similarities, especially with the bottom videos, but yeah, this is the best that I could come up with, and I don't know. You look and see for yourself, I guess. Another thing people pointed out is that her performance touring is a lot less energetic than how it used to be, and this is difficult for me to have much of an opinion on. I watched Ariana tour footage from like a decade ago to now. I can see the point if you compare the way she performs back in 2014 to back when she is in 2026. Yes, there is an energy difference for sure. Break Free is one of her songs that has a lot of energy to it, and her performance of it in 2026 is a lot more low-key, you could say. Public discourse talking about her energy, though, is pretty conflicting, and some people say, hey, she's just 30, she's not a 20-year-old anymore, so yeah, she's gonna be tired. It's hard to argue with that because each and every human ages so differently and experiences it wildly compared to others just based on so many factors. People use her energy levels as evidence of an ED, and others say it's normal and fine. I think it's worth noting also that a lot has happened to Ariana in the past 10 years. If she looks a lot less energetic in her 2026 touring, less happy, there's a lot of reasons why that could be. But again, I'm not an Ariana expert, so it's kind of up to you to decide here. Petal and the public discourse. In Ariana's music video for Petal, which just came out, the storyline is that she is a wide-eyed girl looking for fame in the big city. She presents her skills and passion to a panel of old white male judges who are made to look pretty grotesquely ugly. They deny her time and time again, writing notes on why they don't like her, think she's not marketable or good for their company, Fame Inc. On the last attempt to impress the judges, the symbolism takes a pretty obvious turn. The judges start saying things that you could expect from a comment section. It's pretty ironic that these really ugly old guys are calling her unattractive, unmarketable. They're obviously the disgusting ones, but they are kind of the gatekeepers to her dreams. The idea being, well, what do they know about this, and why do they control this when they look like that? It also becomes pretty obvious when these judges say things that they kind of represent her haters or maybe even her fans. One says, I miss the way you used to be. I miss the old you.
We miss the old you.
And then saying, what do you got? You got some sort of personality disorder? I've seen plenty of videos, people making claims about Ariana having like a narcissistic collapse or something like that. Some stupid armchair psychology type shit. So it kind of feels like a reference to how a lot of the online conversation about Ariana goes. And then the music has to take a dark turn in the video where she grabs a chainsaw, starts ripping them apart. To be honest, it was a very cringy sequence. I get it. I understand what it represents. Making what seems like a clapback revenge type song towards haters was probably a misstep right now because of all the conversation online. Also due to the mixed messaging of who she represents to be her haters. People missing the old Ariana could mean a lot of different things, and not necessarily be a bad thing in my opinion. I don't think it makes you a hateful person, although I can see how Ariana wouldn't find those comments to be nice. The comments about her seeming inauthentic are probably hurtful too, but I also can't blame people for thinking that about a celebrity either. A lot of her fans have pointed out that since she got the role for Wicked, she has not been the same, and in a lot of ways, I can understand Ariana's frustration because she seems to think she's better than ever, so why would her fans not be on the same page? It must be haters. Again, the music video is pretty clear to me about the symbolism, in my opinion. No matter how many times Ariana dresses up, changes herself and her look, she is rejected by the people judging her time and time again. She can't do anything to make people like her, but even in the music video, she doesn't find self-acceptance, she finds validation from a fortune cookie. I also have to mention that the comment section is literally full of people saying that every scene they saw her in left them absolutely shocked, saying it was hard a video to watch, people saying that they don't want the old music back, they want back the version of her that was healthier presenting. And going back to that other video of Ariana in 2023 saying that the image of her body people are comparing her to was actually an unhealthy body that was on a lot of antidepressants and drinking alcohol whilst on the medication, and generally not taking care of herself back then as well. So according to her, she was not even healthy, even though her body seemed that way to people. I think it's probably a fair point to make that despite what people think, she was behind the scenes kind of struggling but you just can't tell just looking from someone at their body. But I think her saying she's better than she has ever been, I'm sorry, I just feel like I don't think we can trust her to be a reliable narrator with something like this. I just have a hunch. In fact, even in that video, it kind of felt like she was alluding to basically confessing to something or speaking in such a way where it felt like it was basically a confirmation, but a really roundabout way of doing it. And I think there's still some things in the video that I think sent a good message, but yeah, it's a tough topic, guys. When she says you never know what someone is going through, I agree with her. She doesn't have to tell the world that she is struggling with stuff in her personal life and what that even is. I fear we have become so accustomed to celebrities having a thing that is their cause that a lot of famous people have been opening up about, their difficulties with their lives and being vulnerable and seeking to be more relatable. I don't think it's bad for a celebrity to talk about things like depression. I think if they're responsibly talking about it, then that's great. Not everyone is equipped to eloquently and professionally discuss such things, though. Having an ED isn't just something that comes out of nowhere. It's a symptom of a root cause, I think. And Ariana being a girl who grew up in the spotlight, that is an essential key factor, I think. Two things can be true at once, right? Ariana can definitely be a victim of an industry that ruins women's mental health and self-esteem and profits off of that. And I think that started when she was a child, but she can also be a cog in the machine continuing to perpetuate such beauty standards, and she is responsible for that also. Her influence is undeniable, and she is still beloved by many despite her controversies. Public conversation around her has been pretty nasty, probably since the Ethan Slater drama, and it never really slowed down. Discourse was propelled more by Wicked and her gaunt appearance during it, not to mention the countless interviews with strange interactions. I can completely understand why she would want to step away from the spotlight for a bit, and that's probably the best thing for her at this point. I do honestly hope that it really does give her time to heal and recoup herself. D'Angelo Wallace commented that he believes it's not possible to just exist and be promoting a disorder like ED, as Ariana is accused of.
Ariana Grande is responsible, unfortunately, for promoting harmful things, and I'm not talking about the way that she looks. I don't think you can promote anything by existing. I'm talking about her long history and the background of just weird stuff, like this V Archives interview that they pulled back from spring 2014, talking about talking about why she's vegan, doesn't drink milk. Cows produce milk, she says, with nutrients for cows. Maybe that's why Americans end up looking like cows. She literally actually said this.
I don't really agree with that, if I understand him correctly. In my opinion, a celebrity like Ariana is looked up to by quite literally hundreds of millions of people, and that alone is enough to say that you absolutely can kind of promote things by just existing. The wording here is what I think is the problem, though. I wouldn't say she's necessarily promoting, but rather influencing. So I would say moving forward, people should probably change the language they are using to be more specific and accurate. If Ariana was promoting such a thing, I think she would be doing press tours about E.Ds specific things and posting things that are a lot more overt. Is it overt? Overt. Overt is the word I'm looking for. But I don't think she's really doing that. That's where I think D'Angelo kind of pushes back on some of the rhetoric that people have been using, because people aren't great at approaching these topics. I mean, it was pretty hard for me to write this video to begin with, and I'm sure I probably messed up here and there, and I'm really, really trying hard not to. They are complicated topics to the point where even the most trained professionals who have to handle these situations have to do it really delicately, really, really careful about it. Ariana says she has a great support system, and that was in 2023, and saying that she's okay, that people love her, and she's doing good, but looking at her in 2026, it realistically seems like it's not really enough. And a lot of people are saying at this point that they want to start blaming her managers, her family and such, which I think does give some sympathy towards Ariana. Being in her position, it probably is hard to find people who would actually challenge her in a meaningful way due to her fame and wealth. Everyone who should be seeing it and helping her are probably on her payroll, and thus don't have much power in that dynamic or the confidence to cause conflict, or as a lot of people really suspect is just greed. Sadly though, I don't think there is much that they can do about Ariana's decisions that she makes for her own life. And I would have the same exact attitudes toward an alcoholic or someone who has a binge eating disorder. You unfortunately cannot help someone with an addiction or disorder unless they want help and see an issue themselves. Take Matthew Perry, for example. As tragic as his passing was, I wouldn't say it's his family's fault or friends or agents or managers' responsibility. As someone who personally lived with addicts and unfortunately grew up in that environment, it's a really hard pill to swallow. You want to think that you can save someone and fix them, that if you just had the right conversation, then they would snap out of it. But realistically, you can't unless they want it. So in a way, I kind of think shifting the blame to those around her is people trying to put pressure, like it's like a desperate attempt to put pressure on anyone you can think of to try and get something to change. But I think this is an example of how public discourse is really flawed when it comes to addiction and mental health struggles. Fans also seem to think that they have the power to change Ariana's life, or if they will it hard enough, they can magically do something. And I'm sorry. I don't think you have the power to make Ariana feel better. And I think you very much have the ability to make things worse. And not just her fans, but that goes for like everybody. In my opinion, I think the best course for us is that when topics of E.Ds come up, we should use it as a moment to try and let the professionals educate people on the details. I think it's not helpful to say that she looks scary or she looks insane, because that is judging and critiquing her body. And like I said before, I don't believe dogpiling one specific person in any way, shape, or form is helpful. Making AI images of them, farming them for content with your YouTube videos, incendiary, insane AI thumbnails featuring... It's like a mockery of the disorder, if anything. And if you think about it this way, do you really want to get in touch with the people who you're concerned with? Like, who are you really concerned for? Who are you worried that Ariana's influence is going to really take effect on? It's her fans, the people most vulnerable to following in her footsteps. How do you reach someone like fans of a person? Well, you certainly don't say it by saying she looks like Jack fucking Skellington or something crazy like that. You definitely don't do it that way. So I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that not everyone involved in the public discourse is acting like a tool. Some people, I think, genuinely have been very thoughtful about how they talk about it and educate and share their experiences and be very vulnerable. And it's not realistic to police what everyone is saying. It's possible all the edits, the AI pictures, the people making nasty comments to poke fun at Ariana are just her snarkers, legitimately people who don't care if she lives. They're the kind of people who are directly contributing to harmful and disgusting conversations. It's repulsive. But I do think there is something to be said about how generally online, in TikTok comments, short form media, people are extremely callous about what they say. Social media is like the tabloids of Y2K. I saw someone comment that social media is really just as bad as the tabloids and the paparazzi of the Y2K era. At first, I wanted to create this section of the video, and I kind of wanted to push back on that. Maybe I was feeling a little bit defensive about it, but after doing some more thinking, I kind of agree with it. D'Angelo Wallace put it very well in his stream about Ariana, and used a term he coined, the plastic surgery effect. He explains that in the sense that when a celebrity or person gets a cosmetic procedure done, the conversation is always about, oh, you look so much better beforehand, like really, sometimes even backhanded like compliments, or people really fighting tooth and nail to stop the normalization of these surgeries and unattainable standards, or rather the reinforcement of Eurocentric looks. I have some mixed feelings about this because, again, I see both sides of it. On one hand, I think people should be able to do what they like, but I think people should disclose when they have had work done. I also think people making content out of their procedures and the downsides has actually been really beneficial for me personally. When I was thinking about getting my own stuff done, there's definitely quite a few videos I can think of that had me rethinking my decisions. Again, education and de-influencing, as people call it now, is really beneficial for helping people make informed decisions. And if nobody got cosmetic surgeries done and they were still available, people would just start getting them again because no one is around to tell them the downsides or show them what it looks like. Maybe that's a bit of a side tangent. What I really hate about the other side is that people for some reason will flood the zone with comments like, yeah, you were so pretty before, sad face, which ultimately just seems like them trolling the individual. I personally believe people who do this know just how much damage that can cause to a person who most likely already has low self-esteem. Like, hello, you don't need to add fuel to that fire. And you're also not helping to de-influence others from getting surgery themselves. You're kind of just being a bitch. And I suspect looking for attention and validation from people replying to you and liking your comments. Again, we are coming back to this topic of, gee, if you don't have anything nice to say, maybe you shouldn't say anything. If you want to make a video of the horrors of plastic surgery and educate people, by all means, go right ahead. Start that YouTube channel now. In fact, you probably should be because they're actually upping how many hours you need to become partnered. Anyway, commenting on someone's appearance and whether they are attractive to you or not is just counterproductive in my mind. What are you really trying to achieve? At this point in the game, social media is very much like tabloids, but on steroids. It's a bit worse now because there's actually a veneer of trying to be helpful. Think about all the snark pages on Reddit, how people talk about a person when there is a tweeted news story about them. Sharing your opinion is fundamental to how social media operates nowadays. But not only that, but voicing your gut reaction to things immediately. Gone are the days where people would sit thoughtfully about their opinions. You don't give yourself time to formulate an opinion anymore. People take opportunities to push back on narratives that they don't personally believe in, and there is a right way to do that and a wrong way. And most people are doing it in the worst way possible. But I think in this situation specifically, it's really worse. It seems to me that if you don't like a person like Ariana, you think what she did with Ethan Slater was wrongful, destructive, terrible, people seem to think that gives them a pass to be horribly mean to her. And then in the same sentence, pretend that they care about mental health and E.D. struggles. I agree with D'Angelo Wallace, who had the opinion that the public is largely terrible at talking about these subjects. We don't know how to talk about these things, how to handle it. Mental health and addiction are things that are incredibly complicated, personal, and the public didn't handle Britney Spears' mental health that well either. Even joking about, well, I'm sure quite a few people aren't joking about it, but people saying we have to take away her rights again just because she is out of control. And it's like, oh, Britney Spears got a DUI, she needs to be put back into the conservatorship. Meanwhile, Tiger Woods has the same amount, if not more, and no one's saying that about Tiger Woods. Wow, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Allegedly. I don't remember the Tiger Woods drama. But I know that there is a man out there, there is a male celebrity out there who's washed up and DUIing all over the friggin' place. This shit pisses me off. It's like, yeah, Britney, she's not well. I think we can all see that and understand that the torment she went through caused that. No, we don't want her on the roads. DUIs are irresponsible, selfish, dangerous, but Britney Spears isn't an evil person who wants to murder a family in a car crash. She's a traumatized woman who hasn't had a normal life since she was probably 7 years old. Yet we are so ableist with how we treat these things. The right thing is obviously someone like Britney getting help, taking accountability, not repeating those things. It's not a straight line of recovery though. And the same can be said for Ariana. So what should Ariana do? This is my question to you as a viewer. Does Ariana have to openly talk about struggling with an E.D. if she has one? Should it be part of the social contract that if a famous person has some kind of addiction, mental illness, or visible vice that could be seen as a negative role model, is it a requirement that they make it known to everyone, and why? There could be a lot of potential downsides or fears for someone like Ariana to have if she does, or if she were to publicly reveal her medical conditions. It's an extremely vulnerable thing to make known to people, let alone your fans and those who hate you. It could be concerning that people might abandon you, humiliating, judging. Other professionals may be feeling concern over working with you, or even admitting to it could inspire others to do the same to achieve your body composition. And yeah, it's fucked up that people even have to worry about these sorts of things. We live in a society where everyone is happy to pretend nothing is wrong, and then when you ask for help, people can become extremely ableist and shut you away. That's also really messed up. With her in the spotlight and being thinspo for girls on social media, it seems pretty unavoidable that her influence is still having the aforementioned effect, even if the ED isn't a confirmed condition. I think parents are largely responsible for giving their children access to social media with no guidance and not at the appropriate age. We know that a lot of insecurities and self-esteem problems stem from childhood and social media usage. Yet the age kids get given access to the internet is rapidly beginning earlier and earlier. Triggers are a part of the conversation too, but in a sense, I think people are also responsible for how they manage themselves and being triggered. Whether you like it or not, you're going to see triggering things online and in real life. It's not 100% avoidable. I try my best to avoid triggering content, but it still can happen. Fortunately, I have learned some pretty good tools to help me when that happens. But don't get me wrong, it's nice when people do have warnings on their content, but I don't think you can genuinely anticipate every single problem people are going to have. I think we can all agree though that as a famous person, Ariana does have a responsibility, one that is very unique to anything the general public has experienced. Even Ariana posing with a cigarette in her hand on Instagram is extremely irresponsible in my opinion. I don't care if you think it has aura, cigarettes are dumb and shouldn't be peddled by anyone. What I personally think she should do is, if she has an ED, it's just go away to recovery. That's it. I don't think she has to explain herself. I don't think she necessarily owes us an explanation, especially when she's not emotionally ready or comfortable. But I suppose it also would be nice if it happened. If we are all adults here, then we have our own responsibilities with how we handle things in our lives. Yes, if someone like Ariana isn't doing her share of taking accountability, then I think it can be good to have discourse online about these things. If kids don't have parents to educate them about these things, then I think it doesn't hurt to spread information and awareness, but that's unfortunately not the crux of what I have been seeing online. I've probably been pretty empathic towards Ariana in this video, which I know will make a lot of people upset. I do want to clarify that while I hope Ariana gets the help she needs and I do wish her good health, there are some things that I obviously don't like. Ariana seems to make a lot of music that is like her version of clapping back at people, and I think it's a very childish thing where everything is built in some kind of thinly veiled symbolism. I find it exhausting to think about going through music videos, trying to decode stuff and read into things. I think it's a very powerful tool for artists to use because it means their fans can make up theories and obsess over possibilities, even being led to possible conclusions the artist wants you to make but doesn't want to say outright. I also couldn't imagine being someone who hates Ariana so much to the point of obsessively posting about her on Reddit, looking for validation from other people who freakishly hate her to the point of misogyny. Another thing I really hate is how many people pretend like they care or like they want her to get better, but at the same time say really harmful and ableist things that could hurt even bystanders. I think we could all do a lot better than we are, and it wouldn't hurt to actually think about what we are saying online. Overall, I think the dogpiling on Ariana is a result of having no one specific to blame for the current trend shift to coke chic again. Everyone blamed Ariana for at least 3 of the Wicked cast members becoming noticeably gaunt. People even said, oh, Michelle Yeoh looks recovered lately. She literally looks the same. People are literally just saying shit online, lying to you, and doing it for the meme, clout, whatever. Hell, even Cynthia Erivo was often labeled as also having an ED with Ariana and being in competition with each other, and now that the meme goggles are off, genuinely, what was everyone smoking? And then people have the audacity to be like, well, now Cynthia has recovered, but Ariana hasn't. What's the common denominator here? You sound like a clown. Genuinely. Not to mention the reductionist attitude like, oh, Ariana left the picture, so that means a mental illness that is extremely hard to treat just went away. I wonder if people will look back on this entire situation years from now and think that they were in the wrong, where the meme's actually just heartless, damaging to others, not just Ariana. Was the conversation useful? Were the jokes worth it? Did it make you a better person? Is it a moral failing to have a mental illness? No, it is not. But I do think it is a moral failing to not recognize when you have a responsibility and you don't take accountability. And I think that's something Ariana will need to reckon with and approach. Not just about E.D. if it's true, but many other things that have occurred during her time in the spotlight. Or at least I hope she does, but I don't think it's likely. If you're in need of professional help or this video brought up some difficult feelings for you, I will direct you to findahelpline.com if you are not an Australian. This will help you find a helpline or support service in your area. If you are in Australia watching this, the Butterfly Foundation is somewhere you can go to. Call them on 1-800-33-4673. The Butterfly Foundation is a national helpline open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to midnight. You can always email them if you're too anxious to call or chat online. If you are in immediate danger or experiencing a medical emergency, contact your local emergency service. If you are in Australia, that is 000. You deserve support and you deserve recovery.